Hello, Jets fans. How are you feeling today? The New York Jets officially win their first game of the season over the Tennessee Titans. And unlike last year, when the team first won a game, you weren't upset about it and you didn't have to wait to near the end of the season. This is a great feeling as a Jet fan, obviously. You get that monkey off your back of being winless, and in the process, you saw a lot of good things and actually saw a good game of football. Hello, everyone. This is Rich Sports Talk, and I'm your host, Nolan Rich. So much to get into in this game, so much good. But here's the thing. We got to start off where we always have to, and that's with Mr. Zach Wilson. And Zach Wilson looked like the best rookie this weekend, had a great game. And if you're reading the stat line, he had a great stat line. But it's misleading because the one interception was the one where Corey Davis slipped. But the big things you got from Zach today, you saw the great throws. You saw great touch on some of the throws, like in overtime, the throw to Keelan Cole along the sideline. The best throw, in my opinion, of the entire weekend, where basically you saw what makes Zach Wilson great, and you saw what scouts drilled about, which was the rollout where he basically, and I've never seen this before, it's just basically it looked like backyard football, just tell Corey Davis, just go deeper, go deeper. And he threw that 54-yarder on a dime. I mean, man, you saw some great plays. And the good news is that this offense is looking like it's starting to find itself a bit. They're starting to get the running game going a bit. The offensive line had their best performance of the season. It looks like they're at least starting to gel a bit. But more importantly, you saw LaFleur really make a couple of adjustments. And I do think that is really big because we didn't see the adjustments in the first couple games, but you're seeing what makes Zach Wilson great, rolling out, using as athleticism, getting him outside the pocket, using more play actions, taking more shots down the field. And look, there's going to be some throws this year. He's going to throw it down the field, and it might turn into an ugly interception, but you see the upside and you see the potential he brings to this offense and the explosiveness. And that's really something we haven't seen from Jets quarterbacks. I mean, of all the quarterbacks, we even talk about like Sam Darnold and Mark Sanchez. They did not have an arm like this, and you saw it on display. And it's like I said in the last episode, Jet fans were not upset last week because of the loss. Obviously, they are upset, but they were more upset because it wasn't a competitive game and you want to see progress. I mean, Jet fans want wins, don't get me wrong, but they want to come out of this season feeling like this team is going in the right direction, that the momentum is going in the right direction. You feel like that after this game. You absolutely do, because Zach Wilson looked as advertised. He showed why he was the number 2 pick in the draft, made some huge plays. And really, I was more impressed with, and I know people will get on him because of the last drive in overtime. I did not like the play call of him rolling out. I was just thinking quarterback sneak or try to get Tevin Coleman to jump over the pile like he did earlier in the drive. So that way you could even take another shot if it was 4th and inches again. But that was also a situation where he has to learn to throw the ball away. But his DNA is he wants to make a play. And I get that there's going to be good things that come of that, and there's going to be bad things. And that was one of those bad things where he took the sack, lost a couple yards. Jets kicked the field goal, but ultimately they're able to hold on and win the football game. But overall, you liked what Zach did. You saw progression. And look, he came right back after that interception, had a great drive that led to a touchdown with Michael Carter punching it in. And you saw the athleticism, the ability to really, Zach Wilson has been getting eviscerated, and this Jets offense has been getting eviscerated by the way they've played, but they've looked really good. And look, Tennessee, I understand that they had some injury issues, but this is a roster that should be competing for a playoff spot, and they have a good team. That's a decent defense. You see the difference when the Jets aren't playing a top 5 defense. And look, there's still going to be growing pains with this offense, but you come out of this game feeling really good. You get the 0 out of the win column. And really, I was impressed because Wilson on that overtime drive looked comfortable, was making big plays on 3rd down. And that's what you want to see from these young quarterbacks. You saw a bit in the Thursday night game with Trevor Lawrence. Was you want to see how they do under the bright lights. You want to see how they do in really high pressure situations. And really, Wilson hasn't gotten those chances early this year, but he got it. He led the Jets down a drive. Now, did they end up punching it in for the touchdown? No, but they were in a great opportunity to do that. So, but I have to also give a lot of credit to this Jet defense. And I keep saying to myself, what would this pass rush look like with Carl Lawson out there? Because the Jets, 7 sacks. Quinnen Williams, 3.5 sacks over the last 2 games. Joe Douglas, start talking to John Franklin Myers' agent. The Jets need him back. He's a great pass rusher. He's been a great pickup. And this is also a good week for Joe Douglas because I made a video defending the 2020 draft class. You can see that on the channel. But really, for the last week or two, you've just heard people dumping on Joe Douglas that he has no idea what he's doing. But really, you look at some of the players on this team have been 2 great waiver pickups. One of them was John Franklin Myers, and then the other one was Quincy Williams. I mean, he was making play after play. He just flies sideline to sideline. You know, every week he's going to have a big hit. He looks incredible. That looks like a great pickup for him. But I also have to give credit to this coaching staff. You know, LaFleur was in the doghouse, rightfully so, for the play calling for this offense, only getting 6.7 points the first 3 games. But you saw it. They went more up tempo. They were able to spread the field a little bit more. And really, they got Zach Wilson into a rhythm early. And I think that they're finally figuring out what works to get him into a rhythm earlier. And I think you're going to see them when they go to London try to do a little bit quicker tempo right off the bat of the game just to get things going, try to get him into rhythm because you saw it. Once Wilson got into a rhythm, he looked great. And he was making big plays all over the field. And it was funny because while I was taking notes of the game and Corey Davis with the big drop and then, of course, falling down, I'm like, okay, I know what I'm going to be talking about afterward, but I have to give Davis a lot of credit. Bounced back in this game, made some couple big plays. You know, Keelan Cole with a couple big catches. He looked really good. We can see why the Jets are really high on him. You know, Jamison Crowder coming back, and look, Braxton Berrios is a good player, but you could see why Crowder was so valuable in the slot and that was an upgrade for the Jets at that position. And look, Denzel Mims even got on the field, although he didn't get a target, but at least he was on the field. I mean, were there play calls I didn't agree with, like the overtime one? Absolutely. Another one, too, was the fade to Griffin in the end zone. I mean, you have Denzel Mims and Corey Davis, who are both like 6'3", 6'4", and athletic receivers, and we're throwing it to, let's be honest, at best, a backup tight end. I mean, Griffin would not be a starter pretty much at any other team. But I got to give this coaching staff a lot of credit. You know, LaFleur really was under a lot of pressure. The offense looked a lot better. They seem to be finding what's working for Wilson, taking shots down the field, letting him play a little bit more of that backyard football style. I know it's not what coaches really love, but he looks comfortable doing it. He's making plays. And I have to give credit to this defense. I mean, Jeff Ulbrich, if this continues, do not be surprised if his name gets mentioned for a head coaching job because this Jet defense looks great. And when you consider their secondary basically lost all their starters at safety, even Ashton Davis, who came back, had to leave the game. They have a young group of corners. And look, Bryce Hall and Michael Carter II, they look really good despite being young players. And with all the injuries they've had at linebacker, I mean, this Jet defense, when you were looking at what you imagine this starting lineup would be, maybe half of those guys are on the field right now with all the injuries going on, but they still looked really good. Now, you hated the 3rd and long conversions. Those drove you nuts in the game. I mean, they did a good job. I really felt they did a good job of slowing Derrick Henry down. I know late in the 4th quarter, Titans had that drive where basically it was a short drive where he made a couple plays, but also too, the offense at that point they were having trouble. They were making some big plays, but they weren't doing long drives. So that defense, I mean, they were on the field 38 minutes of the 60 minutes in the game, and then they went to an overtime. So that defense was exhausted, but they still made plays. They got after the quarterback, and what's even better for the Jets and what you're excited about is, yes, they're blitzing, But a lot of these rushes, they're getting two guys with 4 rushers. I mean, Bryce Huff got his name in there, John Franklin Myers, of course, Quinnen Williams, who now looks like he's fully up to speed and fully comfortable in the system, making an impact. I mean, this defense, it looks really good. And you feel like they're only going to get better because a lot of these guys, especially in the secondary, they're babies. And you feel like they're going to get a lot better. And this offense, you want to take the momentum out of this game. You saw a lot of good things. You got a good running game. The big thing for the Jets has been consistency. I mean, we saw it in the Carolina game. Horrendous first half, looked pretty good in the second half. Last 2 games have looked horrendous, let's be honest. But they need consistency. They need to be able to sustain drives. They need to be able to make some plays. And, I think that this is a good matchup for them in London with the Atlanta Falcons. I mean, their defense is not good. And you just saw it against Washington football team. They got some weapons, but Heineke ripped them apart. And I think Zach Wilson is a more dangerous quarterback than Heineke. So that will be interesting. The big thing I worry about in London for the Jets, just moving into the next game, is London I worry about for 2 reasons. Number one, I worry about because they're a young football team. And what I mean by that is, this was an emotional win. They finally got that first win. Will there be a bit of a letdown? I don't think there will be much of a letdown. But I do think the London trip will test this team because that is a big deal. It's a 6-hour trip. Your internal clock is really all over the place. I mean, you're playing a game basically at 9:30 in the morning, New York City time. So for a team like Atlanta, even though they're a bad team, they have a lot more veterans, especially offensive veterans. I mean, will it take the Jets a little bit of a time to adjust and get their rhythm going? I mean, that could be a big factor in that game that I don't think anyone's talking about. And look, Matt Ryan, say what you will about him, but right now he's the best quarterback the Jets have faced this season. And he's not as mobile as some of these other quarterbacks. He doesn't have a great offensive line, but they have some weapons. I mean, this is going to be an intriguing matchup and really a good barometer test, I think, for this defense because – I mean, Tennessee, yes, they have Derrick Henry, but they were missing their top 2 receivers. I mean, I think the Jets defense has looked great the first 4 weeks, but this will be a very good test for them because you have explosive playmakers that can stretch the field, and you have a veteran quarterback. He's going to be tough to trick. He's going to be tough to really throw stuff at him that he hasn't seen before. And look, if Matt Ryan gets going, he can be one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL in terms of putting up yards and numbers. So it's going to be a fascinating game in London. But like I said, this win is just big because it just puts the organization, it puts the fan base at ease. Because when you don't have a win in the win column, it just drags and it just sticks with you. You're just like, can we just get a win? Can we just get a win? And more importantly, for the Jets fan, I said it last week, you just want to see progression and you want to see good football. And the good news is you got all of that. But you want to see them build off of this. The ideal situation is the Jets go into London and shock the Falcons and then have 2 weeks to prepare for New England. That's what you would love to see. And look, even if the Jets lose in London, but they play a great game and Zach Wilson, the offense looks good again and has another good week of progression and they don't turn the ball over, they don't make dumb mistakes, and they do a really good job building off of this week's success, you're going to be feeling pretty good. Because then in that bye week, they can clean some stuff up. They can get a little bit healthier. That will be a big thing for this team early. But overall, you had to love it. And, you had your heart in your throat with the kick today with Tennessee, of course, missing left. But you saw it. The Jets were aggressive and the football got to reward them, even though it was just with a field goal. Tennessee played just for the tie. They weren't aggressive. They didn't take a shot, and it came back to bite them. So great to see Robert Saleh get his first win. Good to see Zach Wilson have the best game of his young career so far, and really not just have a good game, but show you flashes of, wow, this guy's different. This guy has something special here. And really, this defense, we talked about coming into the season. mean, everyone was saying Carl Lawson was their best piece and their best pass rush and their best player camp, and he doesn't even get to the regular season. And now losing Marcus May for a couple of weeks. I mean, this team, this defense, they've taken a lot of punishment through injuries. But this was the one thing Robert Saleh did incredibly well in San Francisco, and we've seen it carry over the Jets, and that is have guys ready to go and ready to step up. And they've been doing that all season. They finally got a break from their offense today. Their offense was able to get them a win. So if you're a Jet fan, it feels like the first time in a really, really long time that you can wear your Jets stuff proudly on Monday. You can wear it proudly throughout the week. You can talk about your quarterback in a glowing light. It just feels good, and it just feels like there's just a weight lifted off of you. And Jet fans, you should be excited after that win. It was well worth the wait. That's going to do it for this episode of Rich Sports Talk. Thank you so much for joining us here today. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. Get us some traffic so we can get more Jets fans involved. And of course, look at the channel. We will have a poll later this week where we will ask you what video you want to see. I give you 2 ideas and you pick on the video that I will eventually do this week. Last week, it was between trades the Jets could make and reaction to Joe Douglas's 2020 draft. You chose that video, and that's the video we went with. That will be coming out later this week, so I promise you, you're not going to want to miss that. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. But until next time, Jet fans, this is Rich Sports Talk.